Hey guys, Roger here, and I've got here with me the Redmi Note 10 Pro, and wow, what an awesome handset. It's just amazing, I think, how good smartphones are becoming for such a small amount of money. Now this year, Xiaomi have already released some very good handsets actually, including the Redmi Note 9T. That's a good budget handset, and I looked at that a few weeks ago. The Mi 11 is another one, which is a top-end handset, so more expensive, but it does have some amazing features, especially the camera. And of course, the Redmi Note 10 Pro. This is a mid-range handset, and this is what I'm looking at today. Now, just for transparency, Xiaomi did send this handset to me to take a look at, but they are seeing this video at the same time as you, and as always, all opinions are my own. So, this is a mid-range handset, but actually it feels like I'm holding a far more expensive phone. It's very cool. The build quality is absolutely superb. It looks, I think, absolutely stunning as well. It also has some very nice specs and features. But before I get into all of the features of this handset, let's quickly talk about what you actually get in the box. So first of all, there are three different colours: Glacier Blue, Gradient Bronze and Onyx Grey. That's the colour I have, and it looks nice. I love the way the light reflects off the back of this as well. I think most people would agree it looks cool. Apart from the handset though, in the box you also get a thin, clear TPU case. You normally get that with Xiaomi handsets, and I'm pleased to see it here again. Big fan of that. Also included is the USB-C charging cable, and included in the box is the power adapter, 33 watt, so we also get fast charging. So there are three different variations of the Redmi Note 10 Pro. You get 6GB of RAM and 64GB of storage, 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, and also 8GB of RAM with 128GB of storage. Mine, this one, has 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, which is plenty for me. You can add a micro SD card though as well if you need to, so that's awesome. The display, that's a 6.67 inch AMOLED panel with a 120Hz silky smooth refresh rate. That's really nice. Covered in Corning Gorilla Glass 5. It's using a Snapdragon 732G 8nm chip, and it has a nice large battery, just over 5000 mAh, so quite reasonable too. You also get NFC, so contactless payments are definitely possible, but there is no wireless charging with this handset from Xiaomi. Looking around it quickly, at the top there is a 3.5mm headphone socket, top firing speaker, noise cancelling mic and an infrared blaster. Again, I love that being there. Said that with the Redmi Note 9T as well. Absolutely love having the IR blaster there. On the left hand side is the SIM tray, which holds 2 SIM cards and the micro SD card. On the right hand side you'll find the volume buttons and the power button, which has got that built-in fingerprint reader. Then finally at the bottom is a speaker, USB-C charging port and a mic. Alright, so build quality, as I said earlier, is excellent. All the way around the handset is nice and smooth. It feels very well made, it's nice in your hand, and that's because all the edges have this nice curve to them, so it's very comfortable to hold this. It actually feels also quite slim. Even with the included case on the handset though, it still feels fairly slim, so I like that. The thing is though, I keep taking the case off because I want to look at the back of the handset. I like the way that light reflects off of the back of it. But going back to the build quality anyway, as far as I'm concerned, it is top notch. So the display, that's important. That's what you're looking at every time you pick the phone up, obviously. And it's nice. It's AMOLED, 6.67 inches, so it's a good size, actually. It's Full HD Plus, and it has a 120Hz refresh rate, so very silky smooth. The colours on this display really pop, and the viewing angles are very good on this handset too. And I've got to say that doesn't really matter what you're doing, whether that's watching a video, maybe you're looking at photos that you've taken, or playing games. Whatever you're doing, everything looks bright and vibrant. I am a big fan, actually, of the display on this particular handset. There's also a setting called sunlight mode, which makes the display far brighter in direct sunlight, and it does actually make a huge difference when you're trying to look at the screen outside, with a maximum brightness of 1200 nits. Very nice. Performance overall, that's been good. It is running Android 11 and MIUI 12. Apps are opening quickly, navigating menu settings, all that kind of stuff is nice and smooth and pretty quick as well. Gaming has been good as well, and when I realised that you could play Fortnite on this handset, yeah, I did get a little bit excited, I'll admit that. I will say though that Fortnite did seem to struggle a little bit. The game does run, it's just every now and again there's definitely a noticeable lag. But all of the other games that I've played are absolutely fine, no issues at all, especially some of the more simple things like Super Mario Run or even something like Fruit Ninja. All of that runs fine. So more demanding games like Fortnite, they do work, which is good, but perhaps don't expect an absolutely perfect experience. Let's now talk about the camera, and it seems to be excellent actually, considering this isn't a flagship handset. And you'll notice I keep saying that. I can't help but feel like I'm handling a more expensive device all the time. This really is a lovely handset to use and to hold. Anyway, the camera module itself looks great. It seems to have a more grown-up kind of look and feel about it, I suppose, especially when you compare it with a cheaper handset like the Redmi Note 9T. I definitely would be careful when you put this down on a table, because the camera module will touch the surface of a table because it's on one side and it's not in the middle. That means when you put it down with the screen facing up, the handset does wobble a little bit. The wobble isn't really the end of the world, as the phone will normally be in your hand, but I think it's just worth noting. The silver ring that you can see sits around the 108 megapixel wide angle camera, and then below that you have an 8 megapixel ultra wide, a 5 megapixel telemacro and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. You also get a 16 megapixel front facing camera which takes some very nice selfies. It goes without saying really that the main wide angle lens is the one you will want to use for most of your photos, as that's going to give you the highest quality image. So time for a few sample photos. So for these shots I've used the main wide angle camera, and I took the same photo with AI and HDR turned off, then with AI on, and then finally with both AI and HDR turned on. So what do I think of the image quality? Well, I don't think it's hard to see that these photos, they're good. Dynamic range is good, so is saturation. I prefer AI mode and HDR on, actually. I think the photos just look better. That's my personal preference. Not everyone's going to agree with me on that, which is fine, obviously. But yeah, AI and HDR turned on, I like that. So then I took the same photo with the 108 megapixel option turned on, and this is where it does get exciting. When you put the two side by side, you can just see the difference, and there's a big difference. You've also got portrait mode. Those photos don't look too bad. The edge detection seems to work okay most of the time as well, so you'll get a nice blurred background. The bokeh looks good. Images with the telemacro lens also come out quite well. You do also need to have a steady hand when you're taking these kind of images, but as long as that subject is in focus, you can get some really nice images, nice and close up. That's pretty cool. There are also some other very cool modes. One of them is called clone. I think this is brilliant. All you do is select clone mode in the camera, and then you press the shutter button, which will take a snap of someone, me in this case, in a few different places. It automatically merges everything together and gives you one final image. So 3 of me. That's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. There are some other things to mention about the camera as well, such as night mode. That's actually quite good for both photo and video. Xiaomi are calling night mode 2.0, which they say results in a brighter and more crisp image. And I think I'd probably agree with that. Finally, let's quickly talk about video recording, and you can shoot a maximum of 4K video at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 60 or 30 frames per second, and 720p at 30 frames per second. There's electronic image stabilization when you shoot 1080p, but you don't get the stabilization in 4K. So if you're shooting in 4K, you'll definitely notice a bit more camera shake. But overall, the quality of the video that's recorded is really not that bad at all. So when it comes to the battery, you get just slightly over a 5,000 mAh battery, which is good, but I do think you need a large battery, especially with the 120Hz AMOLED display. Now, I always say this, but my daily usage is so high. It's probably higher than most people. Normally the phone is on, the screen is on, it's on my desk almost all day long. I'm watching YouTube, I check emails, I browse the internet, use WhatsApp, all the normal things that most people are doing with their smartphone. Now, when I get to the end of the day, the battery I have remaining would be about 20 to 30%. But the important thing is that's with the refresh rate on the display set to 60 Hz. At 120 Hz, the battery would be almost completely empty. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. It does, however, get me completely through an entire day. That's without having to charge the battery at all. So that's really not bad. I'm happy with that. So this is a very good mid-range handset. It has a decent display, large battery, nice build quality, video and photo quality is good from the cameras, including the front-facing selfie camera. The pictures look good. Tons of extra camera features too. There's fast charging, NFC, and the list goes on. There's lots of good stuff that this handset has. There are, however, a few things that you don't get with this particular smartphone, such as wireless charging, an adaptive refresh rate, and even 5G. It has an IP rating of 53, so it's splash proof, but it's not fully waterproof. So there are a few things missing with this handset, but after saying all of that, I think what you do actually get is a capable, smart looking handset. I really like this, and it handles pretty much everything you'd want to do day to day on a smartphone. If you're a Xiaomi fan, or if you want to keep up to date with everything that Xiaomi are actually doing, I would highly recommend checking out the Mi UK forum. There's an Android app, but you can also go straight to the website. I'm a member of the Mi UK forum, and I post updates there about the Xiaomi handsets that I'm using. It's definitely a great way to stay on top of what Xiaomi are actually doing. So if you're interested in that, and I'd highly recommend checking it out, there's a link in the description below. If there's anything you'd like to know about this handset, just leave me a comment below and I'll get straight back to you there. Let me know as well if you're planning on buying this or one of Xiaomi's other handsets as well. I'd love to know. I hope you enjoyed the video or you found this useful in some way. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That helps the video a lot. And if you haven't already, please also consider subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss my next video. I'm Roger with Life of Tech. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.